So we're gonna get started with our bolster, and so you're gonna lay your bolster the wide way on your mat. Or spinning it so that, yeah, it's wide, good. And then you're gonna lay back and let your head find the floor or a block at a low setting, and then let your arms go out shape of a T. And you can plant your feet wide and let your knees rest together, or straighten the legs out long. And then are your hips supported?
My hips?
Yeah.
Well, now they are.
Okay, good. Yeah, hips on the ground. Awesome. I invite you to breathe into your front body. And tune into the sounds around you, the sensations, thoughts, and feelings. And breathe into all of that. And start to elongate the exhalations, encouraging every drop of air to exit the lungs. And let this practice become a vessel, a container for your awareness and experience. Everything that happened earlier today, or even throughout your life, and everything that'll happen later today or throughout the rest of life. None of that matters at this moment as you sink into the present moment thoroughly and completely. Take a few more breaths here. bring the elbows onto the bolster and tuck the chin to the chest and drive the elbows down. Engage your core to come up off the bolster and move that out of the way. And then return onto your back body. Good. And so plant the feet a little closer to the hips and have the feet hip distance apart. And palms are face down alongside the outer hips. Wiggle the shoulder blades together. And on a breath in, curl tailbone up. Let the sacrum follow. Then the low back and then the mid back. And then on an exhale, mid back lowers, low back, sacrum, and then tailbone refines the floor. And inhale, curling tailbone up and letting that articulate up one vertebra at a time in a bridge pose, and exhale to lower one vertebra at a time. And so continue moving that with your breath, slowly, mindfully. And the next time you lower back down, we'll stay there and then widen the feet to the edges of the mat and let both knees drop to the left, staying there. Take the right arm alongside your ear on the floor. And then imagine your right knee reaching forwards towards the front edge of the mat. It'll probably only move 1 millimeter. And relax that reaching of the right knee, and then bring the legs to center and over to the right. And then you can take your left arm alongside the ear, and you're going to reach the left knee forwards towards the front edge of the mat. Again, it doesn't move much at all, but it should intensify the sensations a little bit. And on your next breath in, relax the reaching of the knee, and then bring the legs to center. And we'll hug the right knee into the chest, and you can straighten the left leg out long on the floor. And then bend the left knee, placing left foot back to the floor, and cross the right ankle over the left thigh, creating that figure four stretch. Curl the top of the foot back to your shin bone on the right foot. Good. And then bring the legs in towards the chest, interlacing fingers around the hamstrings and letting the shoulders relax heavily back to the floor. Here, we often settle into the same position and the same band of glute muscles get stretched. And so I invite you to explore a slightly different stretch by letting your legs slowly sway a little more to the left. When you feel something a little bit different, I invite you to stay there and just breathe into that new sensation. Good. One more breath in. And exhale to release the hands and let the right foot find the floor. Left knee comes into the chest. And slide the right leg out long as you hug that left knee in a little closer. And then plant the left foot on, or rather right foot on the floor and cross the left ankle over the right thigh, curling top of left foot to shin, and then bringing the legs in towards the chest any amount, interlacing fingers on the back of the right thigh. Here we're going to explore a little bit different shape, and so the legs can shift just a little bit to the right. And stopping when you feel something a little bit new and breathing into that. Good, and then come back to center, release the hands, release the feet to the floor. Good. And then on your next exhalation, we're going to bring the knees back above the hips, shin bones, parallel to the floor, like we're laying in a chair on its back. Press the palms against the knees and drive the knees back into the hands. And then find a little micro arch under the low back. This little micro arch is just a natural curve of the lumbar spine. And you're just pressing enough that it's interesting but not torturous and breathable. Take a few more breaths here, softening the eyes, jaw, and tongue. Good, and then hug both knees into the chest, breathing the belly against the thighs. Then we're going to slide the hands under the knees, and you can rock front to back as many times as you like. Eventually, we'll cross the ankles and make our way to child's pose, knees wide, big toes touch. Sink the hips back onto the heels. And sometimes it's nice, even though we don't always need props, to just use them. So you could feel free to explore using the bolster between hips and feet and seeing what that's like. Take another breath. Good, and then rise to table. And we'll set that bolster out of the way again. While you're in table, the biceps roll forwards while you press through the index finger corner of the palm. And then inhale, reach the right leg forwards, or right leg back, and left arm forwards. Finding our awkward spinal balance, drawing the belly button in, and locking the gaze on something that's not moving. Nice. Breathe there. And we're going to take the left arm out shape of a T and right leg out to the right. Maybe not perpendicular, but moving towards it. And lift the pinky edge of that foot and breathe and soften the eyes and jaw. And then release back to table. Nice. And then left leg reaches back and then right arm reaches forwards, hollowing the belly in, locking the gaze. What can be nice about challenging postures in my perspective and experience is that there's no room. The sensations are so strong, there's no room to step outside that container that I was talking about at the beginning. The focus hones in perfectly into this moment and posture and experience. So take one more breath in. And then exhale right onto the right and left leg to the left. And then just savor that fullness of the experience of being here, even though it's, not the most pleasant. Just breathing and enjoying as much as you can. One more breath in. And then release back to table. Nice work. Curl the toes under. Step the hands about a handprint forwards, and again, as you anchor through index finger corners, the biceps roll forwards, and then lift the knees and hips to find downward facing dog. Here you're welcome to nod the head yes and no, or to pedal feet out. And then on a breath in, we're going to roll forwards to find plank pose. And then lower the knees first. If you like, bend the elbows. Let them slide past your ribs on the way to the front body. So hands are under shoulders. And as you breathe in, chin pulls to the front of the throat as you peel the chest up one vertebra at a time. And then exhale, lay yourself back down. Again, just one vertebra at a time. And then inhale, lifting back up, a low cobra. And exhale to slowly lower. So we're going to move that with breath. And softening the eyes, jaw and tongue, forehead. The back of the neck relaxes. And one more. And when you lift up, step your elbows forwards under the shoulders to find Sphinx. Nice. Bend the right knee and then bring the left palm in front of the chest. And press through the entire left forearm, even into the wrist and the fingertips, and then reach back and grab the right foot and gently hug it in. And so we're going to stay upright. And so continue to be strong through the left shoulder as you press the floor away, and then pulling left shoulder back a little bit. The collarbones level out. Looks good. Take a couple more breaths. And then softly release. Good. Let's lower the forehead down onto stacked hands or forearms, and then shake the hips side to side. Good. Finding a little fluidity. And then inhale, low cobra. And then walk the elbows forwards to Sphinx. And then bend the left knee and bring the right hand in front of the chest. Good. Pressing through the entire right forearm, even through the fingers. Reach back, grab the left foot, gently hug it in. And then re-strengthen the right shoulder, pressing the floor away, drawing the right shoulder back. Leveling collarbones out and just breathing. One more breath in. And then release, stacking hands or forearms, resting the head, and again giving the hips a little shake, side to side. And when you've got fluidity in the low back, come back to center and keep the hips and the ribs on the floor, but see if you could hollow the belly button up away from the floor, creating a micro tunnel large enough for a sugar ant to crawl beneath your belly to the other side of you. And you're breathing even as you're hollowing the belly in and letting the hips and ribs be heavy on the mat. And then relax all of that, and again give the hips a little shake side to side. And then when you're ready, hands plant under the shoulders, press your way to table. We'll step the right foot between the thumbs and then walk the left knee back. Good. And so breathing in, broadening shoulders, sending the heart forwards, and then staying there and simply relaxing the head to the floor. Maybe closing the eyes. Experiment with what happens if now you take that same hollowing of the belly action here. So the belly just pulls up into the low back, and as you do that, notice what sensations change. And can you do that while relaxing eyes, face, jaw, and tongue? Keep the belly engaged and walk the hands back. And we're going to sit all the way onto the left heel with toes curled under or foot flat. It's up to you. And then inhale again, broaden the shoulders, lift the heart. And then you can walk the hands forwards any amount and rebow the head. Energize the right back of the leg by imagining you are pulling the right heel back towards your left knee. One more breath in. And then exhale, or walk the hands forwards, re-bending into that right knee. And then curl the back toes under, lifting the back knee. Take a huge step forwards with that left foot, standing forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway again, elongating front body. Keep the length. Keep the belly engaged gently, and then re-bow the head. then palms to shins, and on the breath in, lifting halfway. And exhale to fold. Squeeze your feet to the midline. Sweep the arms out like wings and feel the buoyancy as you rise, reaching arms all the way up to the sky. And then exhale, hands to heart. Good. So interlace the fingers overhead. Index fingers point up like an energy arrow. Shift your hips to the left and reach over to the right. Laying your head on the right upper arm. And using the right hand to so lovingly and compassionately pull the left hand so that the outer left shoulder and side body feel a slightly deeper sensation. Good. One more breath in. And exhale to return to center. And then we're shifting hips to the right as you reach to the left. Laying the head on the left upper arm, and then compassionately guiding that right hand just a touch further and feeling how that lights up sensation in the outer shoulder and side body. One more inhale. Exhale, return to center. Hands find heart. Anchor the tail and hollow the belly like we did when we were laying on the floor. And now let your chest rise up into the thumbs. Finding just a little heart opener, and then take the shoulders back. And then take the arms out and back. Nice. Tailbones chasing the front edge of your mat for one more full body breath. Keep the heart open, and on the exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forwards. And then inhale, lift halfway. And plant your hands. We'll step to table. Good. So biceps roll forwards again. And then walk the knees back until your upper arms are about a 45-degree angle from the floor. Then find the curling of the tailbone to the sky, hips are over the knees, and let your chest and your forehead reach down towards the floor. Maybe the forehead can rest, Anahatasana. One more breath in. And then exhale, let your hips find your heels to bring the body above the knees so that as you press through knees, you can easily rise back to table. From there, we'll step the left foot between the thumbs and then walk the right knee back. Feel free to use blocks under your hands or have fingertips on the floor. And on a breath in, slide your heart forwards, widen the shoulders, and keep the space in the front of the torso, but then allow the head to bow towards the floor. So we're going to stay here and hollow the belly away from the floor and creating that little action. It doesn't need to be 100%, maybe 50 to 60%. Hollowing the belly and noticing how that changes the sensations through the front of the right hip, maybe down into the thigh. And keeping the hollowing of the belly, now shift the hips back and land a seat on your right heel. So our variation of half splits, Breathing in, widening the shoulders, lifting the heart, and then allowing the head to bow. The hands may or may not walk forwards. Activate the back of the left thigh by scrubbing the left heel back. Good, and then rebend into the left knee. Walk the hands forwards, curl the back toes under, lift that right knee, and then take a huge step forwards with the right foot, standing forward fold. And that little hollowing of the belly happens here also. Breathe in, lift halfway, and exhale the fold. Squeeze the feet to the midline and bend the knees as you lift the arms and torso. Utkatasana. Chair pose. Nice. Heel toe the feet together. Big toes are side by side. Heels are slightly separated. Hands find heart. Inhale here. And on the exhale, staying upright, we're going to twist to the right and pull the left hip back. And as you look down, you can see that your left knee is in line with the right or slightly behind it as the hips twist in the opposite way of the chest. Good. One more inhale. And then exhale, return to chair. Inhale, imagine your spine lengthening, tailbone to crown of head, and then exhale, twisting to the left. And as the upper body turns left, the hips are trying to twist back to the right, so that as you gaze down towards the right knee, you see that it's in line or slightly behind the left knee. Breathing. Last inhale. And exhale, untwist and fold forwards. Inhale, lift halfway. And then plant your hands. Let's step back, plank pose. Shifting forwards, bending the elbows, lowering down to the front body. Good, and so we're going to cactus the arms so the elbows are straight out from the shoulders. Good, and pressing the fronts of the hips, thighs, and all of your toenails into the floor. And then pull the chin into the front of the throat. Lift the forearms and the hands off the floor. And then lift the upper body. So we're in a little bit of a cobra without the arms. Good. And so you're going to squeeze the elbows into your side bodies. And then keeping the upper body lifted, tap the middle fingertips above the crown of the head. And then elbows squeeze back. Maybe you can lift slightly higher. And then tapping the middle finger above the crown of the head and moving that a few more on your own breath. Good, and one more. And then releasing hands under the shoulders, and we're going to press our way to a seat on our heels. Interlace the fingers behind the back and squeeze the elbows towards each other, and then slide that one fist towards the right hip. And so that one fist should kind of come around the side body a little bit. Good. And so then bow the chin to the chest and press your low back into your left arm. And then slowly bring your chin towards the right collarbone. Starting by gazing down. And then gazing to the horizon, still looking to the right. And then still looking to the right, you're going to slowly, 1 degree at a time, tilt the face towards the sky until you feel a nice stretch to the front left side of the neck. And then look down to the horizon and slowly down to the right collarbone. And let your hands slide back through the center as your head comes to center. And then that one fist travels towards the left hip. Left elbow tucks back and then chin rolls slowly to the left collarbone, looking down to begin. And then starting to look towards the horizon on the left. And then starting to tilt the face slowly towards the sky. And then bringing the face towards the horizon and down towards the collarbone and back to the center of the chest as you release the hands and bring the head upright. Good. And so we'll return to downward facing dog. And carry that relaxation through the neck with you here. And maybe turn the head yes and no a few times. Good. And then on a breath in, you're going to reach the right leg to the sky. And exhale, knee to chest. Land the foot between the thumbs and pivot the back heel down. So the toes are 6 degrees forwards. Hollow the belly. Use that core strength to rise up to a warrior one stance. Good. And then we're going to cactus the arms again. And so hollow the belly, send the tailbone down. And then lift the chest towards the chin just a tiny bit. And then let the underside of the forearms rotate up to the sky. Good. Breathing, softening the eyes, face, and jaw. And then hands find hips, straighten the right leg, lift the chest, elbows squeeze towards each other, and then hinge at the hips, leading with your heart fold over the front leg. Hands frame the foot on blocks or the floor. Then you're going to turn your left toes out so that the foot is almost perpendicular to your front foot. Keeping the right hand on floor block, then you can take your left arm to the sky. Good. And now you can always adjust the height of the block. You're rolling left shoulder a little further back, ribs follow. Neck relaxes entirely. Good. And then look down at the mat by your foot and release the hands to frame the foot, pivoting onto the back toes, and we're going to step our way back to plank. And so in our plank, we're going to flip to the tops of the feet and then slowly let the hips lower as you pull the chest through, stopping when your low back feels enough compression. When you get there, spin the biceps further out, pull the chest further forwards, and find that little hollowing of the belly action. One more breath in, and then curl the toes under, and that belly hollowing pulls you up and back to downward facing dog. Nice work. Breathing there, finding more relaxation in the neck if you lost some of that. Good, and then on a breath in, reach the left leg to the sky, and exhale, knee to chest, land your foot between the thumbs. That right heel pivots down, toes are 60 degrees forwards, hollow the belly, rise on up, and then cactus the arms. Good, and so tailbone anchors, and the belly slides back just a little bit, and then the chest lifts, and then the underside of the forearms rotate towards the sky. And just breathing and widening your gaze into the peripheries. Beautiful. And then release hands to hips, straighten the front leg. Keep a slight lift of the heart and expansion of the front of your spine. And then hinge at the hips and fold forwards, bringing hands to blocks or the floor. When you get there, allow the head to bow, relaxing the neck entirely. And then pivot the right toes out a little further. And keeping the left hand where it is, reach the right arm to the sky, turning the chest to the right, rolling top shoulder and ribs back, almost as if we could fit between two panes of glass. Breathing into the right side body and relaxing the neck once again. One more big breath in. And exhale, looking down and then framing the hands around the front foot and pivoting. The back heel up. We'll step our way back to plank. Good. And shift forwards. Bend the elbows lower all the way down to the front body. Good. So we're going to stack the hands or the forearms to rest the forehead once again in Makarasana, crocodile pose. And start to imagine that there's a balloon inside your lower abdomen, and every breath in fills the balloon entirely. And so keep that visualization and image with you and that deep belly breath with you, and then bring your hands under the shoulders and inhale. Find your low cobra, last back bend of the evening. And instead of your hands right under the shoulders, now you're going to step them up forwards about a handprint. And then let the elbows lift just a little. The elbows stay bent though. And then let your shoulders slide down the back. And then imagine you've got tiger claws gripping the ground and pulling the front of the abdomen longer as you refill that big balloon of air into the lower abdomen. One more expansive breath into the low belly. And then release, stacking the other forearm on top, resting the head and shaking the hips. And then we're going to take one arm alongside the ear, roll over that side onto the back body, and having your blocks within reach. And so planting the feet close to the hips and lifting your hips and sliding your block either at the low setting under the sacrum or the middle setting. Whatever's comfortable. And so then you're going to slide your left leg out straight so the heel can rest on the floor. And close the eyes and tune into that sensation wherever it shows up. And then slide that left foot in and the right leg out long. Just noticing if there's a difference. And then slide the right foot in. And you might need to adjust the block. So you're going to take one foot and then the other foot off the floor. So if the block feels wiggly or unstable, just put the feet down and readjust it so that it feels good. And then when that's there, straighten both legs to the sky. And imagine all the heaviness draining out of the feet, into the lower legs, into the knees, the upper legs, and then the hips. And your exhalation detoxifies you of that heaviness. Notice how every breath in then fills you with a sense of lightness. And that lightness expands into your lungs and percolates into the rest of the body, moving into your hips and legs, knees, lower legs, and feet. But it especially goes to where it's needed. The sense of lightness has sort of an intuitive knowing of where it needs to go. It just flows there effortlessly. then let the knees bend and slowly bring them to the floor. And then lift the hips and slide the block out of the way and slowly lower down. Take the arms out, shape of a T, and shift your hips a little bit to the right. The knees are going to drop to the left in a supine twist, and you might use a block between the knees or under the bottom leg. Finally, turn your head any amount over the right shoulder. And let the legs slowly come back to center, maybe letting them separate. And then shift your hips over to the left, and then the knees can drop to the right, turning the head any amount to the left. And then let your legs separate to return to center. Good, and take the soles of the feet together and let your knees fall open. Just one more opportunity to use your blocks if you want, sliding a little bit of support at just the right height underneath your outer thighs so that you can completely relax. And imagine at your heart center, there's this little orb of light. And notice what size it is. And then imagine like a comet has a tail. So you could imagine that little orb of light starting to spiral outwards. And you see that little tail, that spiraling tail of that orb circling around you, and the spiral gets larger and larger. And that tail grows longer and longer, that little tail of light. Surrounding you in light. And then once that light has enveloped your whole body, let that orb of that heart orb start to spiral smaller and smaller. As it slowly makes its way back to the center of your body. And imagine once it's at the center of your body that that orb of light grows so bright that it shines its light into every cell and tissue of your body. Every cell and tissue and bone begins to be luminescent with that glowing light. Imagine that glowing light has the ability to heal anything, physical, mental, energetic, or emotional. And healing often doesn't happen all at once. But even as you're not thinking about this light that's there within you, it continues doing its perfect job of healing whatever needs to be healed. And so rest, knowing the healing continues. Even as you let go of that image. So then I invite you to gradually reawaken, wiggling fingers and toes. And you can use your hands to push the legs together and moving one of the blocks out of the way to roll to that side.